Don't wait for permission. Do not wait for permission. Just start. I spent the last decade launching and growing companies online, all the while learning from the smartest people in growth. And now, for fun, I'm building a new side hustle business, scaling to 10, then 50k per month. The real question is, how will I do this with 2 small kids and working on another business at the same time, completely from scratch? This podcast is here to give you the answer. Join me and follow along as I share my journey growing this new side hustle online business as an already busy dadpreneur. My name is Rich Bowdler, and welcome to the Science of Launch podcast. Here's what I'm going to tell you about instead: the strategy of preeminence and what it is and how it's been useful for me in my life and helping me become employed in today's world. Now, the strategy of preeminence, for those of you who have not heard of it, it's a term that was coined by a marketer called Jay Abraham. And he, it's in a nutshell, it's this: give before you ask. 2013, and I found myself in London, needing to find work, wanting to go and work with somebody who was bigger, badder, smarter than I am, and somebody with more experience. And there were, perhaps a dozen companies that I looked at, and these are all startups. And then I whittled it down and had first round interviews. Some through personal network, others just looking online, work like a website called Work in Startups. And I found I found several people whom I had interviews, and then found out what they were doing in their business at that point, also what the role was about. And then some of them were slightly broader. One was a B2B like resource planning tool, and another was a luxury gift experience company, and then another was a peer-to-peer insurance, insurtech. And what I did with each of them was I just started delivering work. I spoke to each of the founders, found out what they wanted, and then I didn't wait for them to say, okay, no, we're going to set you this homework thing, whatever. I just looked at what they needed, and I just created stuff. For the B2B company, just created a vision board because they were very early on, like branding, styling vision board, turned up to a couple of industry events, just started working. It's like, I don't wait for the invitation to do stuff. Like, do stuff. And if they say thanks, but no thanks, then so what? You've provided value, and you've probably learned something or developed a skill at the same time. Similar with the insurance, the peer-to-peer insurance company. I just started building like a wireframe for a website, and that was it. And ultimately I ended up working with the third one, with the luxury gift experience company. And I got an invitation to turn up, but I didn't wait for a contract. I didn't wait for for the ink to dry on the page. I was just like, look, I'm going to trust in you. I'm going to trust in your integrity. And this is going to be an agreement that will work out, or it won't. And then I'll go and work somewhere else, and that's fine. I'm just going to deliver work. That is the strategy of preeminence. And if you're in your life and you're trying to either find work with a client or find a new job or whatever it is, go and find somebody that is doing what you want to do, or somebody that you want to work with or want to work for. Speak to them, take them out, provide value to them, and then deliver work for that person without invitation, and you will learn something. And that is the strategy of preeminence. It will only ever stand you in good stead, but do it deliberately. Do it strategically. Just help people along the way. I mean, I did this with a good friend of mine who was starting. This was a B2B insurtech company, and I had access to some amazing sales training by a guy called Chet Holmes. He wrote a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine, and he was an ultimate sales machine. Freaking relentless. He was a relentless beast on training people again and again. And he tells this story about when he used to be a karate expert when he was a kid, karate kid, goddamn karate kid. And he said, and this just gives you an insight into the way that this guy's mind worked and his attitude. He said he had one of those, like a ball on a rope, and the idea was to try and hit this ball repeatedly. And initially he maybe hit it once and just not very cleanly. And he said, by the end of a month, he could do like 19 punches and within the space of a few seconds on this ball. It's just like relentless focus on kind of perfecting skills. So becoming ultimate and becoming an ultimate machine. And his whole ethos, which I think spans disciplines, is rather than doing 4,000 things 12 times, do 12 things 4,000 times and just become masterful at those 12 things, become goddamn masterful. So look at what it is that you do. And there's lots of, there are different takes on this about the shape of person that you can become, whether to become like a T-shaped person in your domain. So if it's in marketing, then maybe you develop a kind of broad perspective on like a range of different topics, but you go really deep on, let's say, SEO, or you go really deep on Facebook ads or paid search in some other platform. And there are other people that say, well, maybe call yourself pie-shaped and go deep in a couple of areas, or call yourself M-shaped and go deep in a few different areas. The point is, you can't go really deep in loads of areas. So pick a few, pick one to go really deep, and then pick maybe 2 or 3 others to go pretty darn deep, and have that define who you are. So Chet Holmes, Ultimate Sales Machine, and he wrote this book and gives some kick-ass training on how to grow your business by being pig-headed and determined and relentless, and maps out a very clear and brutal strategy for how to go about that. And so I kind of gave my friend access to this training because he was at a point where he was building his sales environment and wanted to figure out the strategy for doing that. And he found that really useful, and it helped him provide his first playbook for his sales playbook for his enterprise SaaS company. And it was probably about a year and a half later. Yeah, so that was end of 2012, and I remember it. We're actually at his parents' house. He'd kind of like set up shop there, and then about a year and a half later, he was asking me for advice on how he would go about creating the other infrastructure required in his business. And so I was just telling him, and then after a bit more of a chat, after another couple of beers, he just kind of said, "Actually, do you fancy working with me?" And I did. And part of that, in no small way, had come about. Yes, there was a lot of background between us, and he knew who I was, and we'd known each other for, what was it at the time, 15 years or so. But I had provided value to him without any expectation of return, not even like a desire for a return. It was, I'm going to help you, And that's that, because I believe in what you're doing. You're my friend. And I think if you can approach people that you want to work with at some point, or even people that you don't, but if approach people in the world and in your world, in your life, like they are your friends, and just seek to pour value into people and seek to help people, it will only stand you and them in good stead. So that, my dear loves, is the strategy of preeminence. So my name is Richard Bowdler, and this has been the Science of Launch podcast. So let me know somewhere, some chat or something, what you want to know about and what you're doing in your business, what your business is, and who knows, maybe for one lucky person, you could come and be a mystery guest on my interview chat show thing as well. All right, lots of love. Bye.